Hello, this is the LEGO Star Wars Imperial landing craft for 2018. It's only the second one of these things, these Sentinel class shuttles that LEGO has made to be roughly minifig compatible ever. The first one having come over 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago. In universe, these originally expanded universe craft were troop transports and cargo carriers. So it's basically a Lambda shuttle, the classic one like the Tidarium, that's been extended out with this big cargo carrying compartment. And that compartment on this model looks pretty smooth, has some gaps on the front and the back, but I like how round it is. I also like the engine section back here, especially as viewed directly from the rear. These little winglets are intended to be up in the landed mode and down when flying. I appreciate the fact that you can actually put them down and display it like that without having to add your own pieces to create a stand for it. You know, typically we have to raise these things up with our own parts if we want to show something completely folded out like that. But the winglets themselves are rather small. The dorsal fin is a little bit short as well, but these especially are even smaller. I think they should just be a little bit closer in overall height to each other. The center section does open up. You get 1, 2, 3 major flaps. And then this also comes down here, allowing you to pull this out, which becomes a ramp. It's a very narrow ramp, but it's enough to put figures on, so you can pose figures coming out. On this side, I've placed a couple troops in there to show you how it actually carries people. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of space in this cavernous space to put figures. It's not very well utilized. Now, you can have these sitting down or standing up. It's important to be able to have them standing up for figures that have heavy backpacks on. You could fit 4 figures without the packs, the survival packs on. If you have one sitting here and then one standing towards the rear, you might be able to find a way to squeeze in even more than that. But it's a little bit rough. A lot of the space is taken up by this ramp mechanism, which allows you to go to either side. So you either bring down the ramp over there, or you bring down the ramp over here. So you choose one at a time. And again, you know, it's all just about being able to pose figures on there, or to have the little, you know, just do this with them, to have a space for them to be a little bit more realistic in their transition from being carried to being on the ground. But it is a disappointment to me for sure that by default it's really designed to hold just a total of 4 troops. Looking at the cockpit over here, there are stud shooters, one on either side. Those are not on turrets or anything, so they don't allow you to aim. You open all this up and there's just a spot for the single pilot, which makes sense. He has no console in front of him here, but there's actually an assembly up above, and when this comes down, the console is in front of him. That's that printed piece that looks pretty good. So that works out, and you can see it from the outside when all of this is down. You know, it makes enough sense, so I think that's done pretty well. I actually don't like how many studs are exposed on the side here, given how smooth the rest of the build is. This is definitely swishable. You can grab it pretty easily from this section here between the engines. You can fly it around. It looks pretty good flying, but it's always going to have the landing pads down, the skids there, because those don't fold up. Well, I mean, you can do this, I suppose, but that doesn't really help much. But the best thing, if you don't want to see those, is to remove them completely. I also want to point out my dislike for those tan bits there. It just looks unfinished right here. You close this up, most of that is hidden away, but as soon as you bring it into that flying mode, that's just weird. The set comes with 2 so-called sand troopers, which LEGO has correctly identified as a squad leader on the left and just a regular trooper on the right. I'm glad they did their research to get that correct finally. These look really good to me. I like the prints on everything, all the prints. And I like the pauldron pieces, not the best little shaping right now with them kind of blocked by the blasters necessarily, but yeah, they really look good to me, and I appreciate the inclusion of brick-built survival suits, or survival packs for these. They do stick out a little bit to the rear. Would have been nice to get just an extra piece in there as a gap filler between the body and the suit, but it's not bad. I appreciate the inclusion of these. It's almost a shame to cover up the back torso prints because those look great as well. But given the choice, I'm glad to actually have the choice. You can leave that off if you want. But for faces, of course...
Angry clone.
This Imperial shuttle pilot is basically everything I've ever wanted out of an Imperial shuttle pilot minifigure. I mean, what more can you ask for? This is it. This is exactly how to do it. He even has print on the back of the torso that's just so deluxe for such a basic character. These folks never have names. They're just random support people. Yeah, this is good. This is being positioned as an A New Hope set, so they've included Obi-Wan Kenobi so he can say, "These aren't the droids you're looking for." And then they included just one of the droids that they're actually looking for, R2-D2. Another R2-D2. We've gotten a lot of R2-D2s lately. It's a good droid to include in Star Wars sets in general, but that's a lot of R2-D2s we've gotten recently, and no C-3PO to go with this. And for an alternate face, nothing there either. This is not that great of a set, in my opinion, not that great of a representation of a Sentinel class shuttle. It really needed more space, more usable space to carry troops, and I think they actually should have included 2 more just regular troopers here instead of these guys who aren't really that important here, don't really need to be included here. The Sentinel was only shown in the special edition Lucas Weird edits to A New Hope, briefly in the background. Canonically, it's correct to be here and all, but I mean, it was shown way more in Rebels, and it just needs to be a troop carrier, or at least include a bunch of cargo, but no. Include four troops and then 1 pilot, and leave us space for 2 or 4 more troops as well that we could add out of our own collection. I think that's what this needed. The ramp is cool to have. It's a little bit awkward that it's narrow, but I don't think that it's a good substitute for extra space to hold troops. From everything that I've seen and from everything that I remember, kids like troop carriers to carry a bunch of troops. That's the whole fun thing about it, is to put a whole bunch of dudes in there and then take them to battle and then empty them out. That's what it's all about, and this really misses at that. And then looking at the price, I think the price isn't that far out of the realm of reasonability. Don't look at the price to part ratio and immediately say, oh, that number is just ridiculous. Because this set does have an extraordinary number of rather large and expensive pieces. Those large panel pieces with the corner ones, also the normal curved ones that go up to that, a couple pieces on the back, some of the larger plate, wedge plate pieces as well. These roof pieces that are relatively specialized. I think that the value here is just a little bit off from at least the U.S. price. I mean, that's the only good reference that I have for value. I understand the value of the American dollar, so I can't speak for other countries except to agree that when things are much more expensive elsewhere, it doesn't make sense and it's not fair. But I think that if this had been priced at $80, I wouldn't really be talking about price at all, except to defend it. From $80, it could go down a little bit in sales and from other retailers. It's priced at $90 in the U.S., which is a little bit over where I'd like to see it. So I think that folks who want this can just wait for it to come down a little bit, and it'll be in a reasonable range. But that said, I don't think as many people will want this as would have wanted it if it actually carried a bunch of folks and or a bunch of cargo, and if it came with more actual troops, which fans of all ages from all backgrounds are always asking for. So that's it for my look at this set. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you again as soon as I can. These aren't the droids you're looking for. See what I did there? It's a good trick, if I may say so myself. Yes. Ooh.